Men, sometimes a woman doesn't stay because of love. She stays because it's convenient. Maybe it's money, comfort, or simply fear of starting over. Female psychology shows these patterns clearly. Today, I'll reveal 6 red flags that prove she's only staying out of convenience. Before we get into it, hit subscribe and drop a comment if you've ever felt like you were just being tolerated. It might help another man recognize the signs. Red flag 1. No real affection, just routine. This is perhaps the most telling sign of a convenience-based relationship. She goes through the motions of physical affection, hugs, kisses, or touches, but with decreasing frequency and emotional investment. What you're seeing is routine behavior rather than genuine expressions of love and attraction. Here's the psychology behind this pattern. Genuine affection comes from emotional connection and physical attraction that makes people naturally want to express their feelings through touch. When someone is only staying for convenience, they maintain minimal physical contact to keep the relationship functioning without investing the emotional energy that creates authentic intimacy. Female psychology reveals important patterns about how women express affection when they're genuinely invested versus when they're going through motions. Women who are emotionally connected initiate physical contact spontaneously, respond enthusiastically to their partner's affection, and use touch as a natural way to communicate love and desire. Watch for changes in how she initiates or responds to physical affection. Does she seem to go through a mental checklist when showing affection, or does it feel natural and spontaneous? Someone staying for convenience often treats affection like a relationship obligation rather than a genuine expression of feeling. Pay attention to the quality of physical interactions. Genuine affection involves presence and emotional engagement. When she hugs you, she's fully present in that moment. Routine affection feels distracted, perfunctory, or like something she's doing while thinking about other things. The timing patterns are also revealing. If physical affection primarily happens during predictable moments, greeting or goodbye kisses, obligatory bedtime hugs, but rarely occurs spontaneously throughout normal interactions, that pattern suggests she's maintaining minimum relationship requirements rather than expressing genuine feelings. Notice her body language during physical interactions. Someone who's genuinely affectionate shows engagement through eye contact, relaxed posture, and natural responsiveness. Someone going through motions might avoid eye contact, maintain physical tension, or seem eager to end the interaction quickly. Female psychology shows that women typically crave emotional connection through physical touch when they're invested in relationships. When a woman stops seeking or providing meaningful physical affection, it often indicates that her emotional investment has shifted elsewhere or diminished significantly. The most telling aspect is her reaction to your attempts at affection. Does she respond warmly and engage, or does she tolerate your affection without reciprocating? Someone who loves you naturally wants to return affection. Someone staying for convenience endures it as part of maintaining the relationship's basic functions. Red flag 2. She avoids long-term conversations. A woman who's genuinely invested in building a future with you naturally engages in conversations about long-term plans, shared goals, and relationship milestones. Someone staying for convenience consistently dodges these discussions because they require acknowledgement of permanent commitment she's not prepared to make. This avoidance manifests in multiple ways. When you bring up future vacation plans, she changes the subject or gives vague responses. When you mention relationship milestones like marriage or living together, she deflects with comments about not wanting to rush things. When you discuss long-term goals, she frames everything in individual terms rather than partnership language. The psychology behind this behavior is straightforward. Engaging in future planning requires emotional investment and implies commitment. Someone staying for convenience wants to maintain current benefits without making promises about permanent arrangements that might limit her options. Female psychology research shows that women who are emotionally invested naturally think in partnership terms when discussing the future. They use we language, express excitement about shared experiences, and want to coordinate their individual goals with relationship plans. This collaborative future thinking is absent in convenience relationships. Watch for how she responds to different types of future conversations. Does she avoid all long-term discussions equally, or is she comfortable planning individual activities while avoiding relationship-focused planning? Someone staying for convenience maintains separate future planning that doesn't integrate you as a permanent fixture. Pay attention to her language patterns when future topics arise. Does she use I language when discussing plans that would naturally include a committed partner? Does she seem uncomfortable when you assume you'll be part of her future activities or decisions? Notice her emotional response to future-oriented conversations. Someone who loves you gets excited about planning shared experiences and building a life together. Someone staying for convenience becomes uncomfortable, evasive, or even irritated when these topics arise because they force her to confront the temporary nature of her commitment. The timing of her avoidance is also significant. If she was once willing to discuss future plans, but has gradually become more evasive about long-term conversations, that change indicates a shift in her emotional investment or commitment level. Female psychology shows that women typically want to discuss relationship progression and future possibilities when they're genuinely invested. They seek reassurance about the relationship's direction and want to coordinate their life planning with their partner's goals. The absence of this natural behavior pattern suggests emotional detachment or temporary commitment. Red flag 3. She relies on you financially or practically. This is often the most obvious indicator of a convenience-based relationship, but it's also the sign that men most frequently rationalize or excuse. She maintains the relationship primarily because of financial support, housing arrangements, lifestyle benefits, or practical assistance that would be difficult or expensive to replace. The psychology behind this dynamic involves staying in relationships for security rather than love. While financial interdependence is normal in committed partnerships, convenience relationships are characterized by one-sided dependence, where the benefits of staying outweigh the emotional costs of remaining uncommitted. Financial dependence creates powerful incentives to maintain relationships, even when emotional investment has diminished or disappeared entirely. If leaving means giving up housing, lifestyle, financial support, or practical assistance, the cost of ending the relationship can seem prohibitive compared to maintaining the status quo. Female psychology reveals important distinctions between healthy interdependence and convenience-based dependence. Women who are genuinely committed typically contribute to the relationship's financial and practical responsibilities according to their abilities, and they express gratitude for support while working toward increasing their own contributions. Watch for patterns in how she approaches financial and practical responsibilities. Does she naturally contribute what she can and express appreciation for your support, or does she seem to take your contributions for granted while avoiding reciprocal responsibilities? Pay attention to her reaction when discussions arise about more equal contribution or sharing responsibilities. Someone who's genuinely committed will work toward balance and partnership. Someone staying for convenience often becomes defensive or resistant when asked to increase their own contributions. Notice how she talks about your financial or practical support. Does she acknowledge and appreciate what you provide while expressing desire to contribute more herself? Or does she treat your support as something she's entitled to receive without corresponding obligations? The most telling indicator is what happens during times when you're unable to provide your usual support. Does she adapt gracefully and increase her own contributions, or does she become resentful about the temporary loss of convenience? Female psychology shows that women who are emotionally invested want to contribute to partnerships and don't feel comfortable being completely dependent on their partners indefinitely. They work toward increasing their contributions and building genuine partnerships rather than one-sided arrangements. Consider her long-term goals regarding independence and contribution. Someone who loves you wants to build a partnership where both people contribute according to their abilities. Someone staying for convenience focuses on maintaining current benefits rather than working toward mutual contribution. Red flag 4. She puts minimal effort into the relationship. In genuine relationships, both partners naturally invest energy in maintaining attraction, creating positive experiences, and fostering emotional connection. In convenience relationships, she provides just enough effort to keep things functioning without investing in growth, improvement, or genuine partnership building. This minimal effort manifests in multiple areas. She stops putting thought into her appearance when spending time with you, doesn't initiate date ideas or special activities, avoids meaningful conversations, and doesn't work on addressing relationship challenges constructively. She's maintaining rather than building the relationship. The psychology behind this behavior involves protecting emotional energy while maintaining access to relationship benefits. Genuine investment requires vulnerability and effort that someone staying for convenience wants to avoid, because investment creates attachment to something she views as temporary. Female psychology research shows that women who are genuinely invested naturally want to make their partners happy and maintain attraction within relationships. They put effort into appearance, plan special experiences, initiate intimate conversations, and work actively to resolve conflicts because they're emotionally committed to the relationship's success. Watch for changes in effort levels over time. Has she gradually reduced the energy she invests in looking attractive for you, planning activities together, or working on relationship improvement? Decreasing effort often indicates decreasing emotional investment. Pay attention to whether she initiates positive relationship activities or always waits for you to create experiences and maintain connection. Someone who's genuinely invested contributes to the relationship's emotional and experiential quality rather than just participating in whatever you initiate. Notice how she approaches relationship challenges and conflicts. Does she work toward resolution and improvement, or does she avoid difficult conversations and hope problems resolve themselves? Someone staying for convenience avoids the emotional work required to build stronger partnerships. The most revealing aspect is her attitude toward relationship growth and improvement. Someone who loves you wants the relationship to become stronger and more fulfilling over time. Someone staying for convenience prefers maintaining current arrangements without the effort required for genuine development. Female psychology shows that women typically derive satisfaction from nurturing relationships and creating positive experiences for people they care about. When this natural nurturing behavior is absent or minimal, it suggests emotional detachment rather than genuine caring. Red flag 5. She shows more excitement around others than you. This behavioral pattern reveals where her genuine emotional investment and energy are focused. She consistently displays more enthusiasm, animation, and joy when interacting with friends, co-workers, or even strangers than she shows in your presence, indicating that you're not the source of positive emotional experiences in her life. The psychology behind this disparity involves emotional energy allocation. People naturally show more enthusiasm around individuals and activities that genuinely interest and engage them. When someone is staying in a relationship for convenience, spending time with their partner becomes obligation rather than preference. Female psychology research demonstrates that women typically show their most animated and genuine selves around people they're excited to be with. The emotional contrast between her behavior with others versus with you reveals her true feelings about your relationship and your role in her life. Watch for consistent patterns in her energy levels and emotional expression. Does she seem to light up when talking to friends on the phone, but become flat and unresponsive during conversations with you? Does she laugh and engage enthusiastically in social situations, but seem bored or tired during your time together? Pay attention to her body language and facial expressions in different social contexts. Someone who's genuinely happy to be with you shows similar enthusiasm, whether you're alone together or in group settings. Someone staying for convenience often seems more alive and engaged when other people provide the social stimulation. Notice how she talks about time spent with others versus time spent with you. Does she have exciting stories and positive energy when discussing interactions with friends, co-workers, or family, but struggle to find enthusiasm when discussing your shared experiences. The timing patterns are also significant. Does she seem to gain energy from social interactions with others, but lose energy during extended time alone with you? This pattern suggests that you drain rather than restore her emotional resources. Female psychology shows that women naturally want to share their best emotional selves with romantic partners they're genuinely excited about. When your presence consistently fails to bring out her positive emotions and enthusiasm, it indicates fundamental problems with emotional connection and genuine attraction. The most telling aspect is her reaction to spending exclusive time with you versus spending time in group settings that include you. If she consistently prefers group activities over one-on-one time, she may be using other people's energy to compensate for lack of genuine connection with you. Red flag 6. She gets defensive when asked about commitment. When you express desires for greater commitment or ask questions about the relationship's future direction, instead of engaging in honest discussion about your mutual goals, she becomes defensive and tries to shut down these conversations through deflection, guilt, or avoidance tactics. This defensive response serves multiple psychological purposes for someone staying for convenience. It avoids honest examination of her commitment level, prevents conversations that might reveal her true intentions, and makes you feel guilty for having legitimate relationship needs and expectations. The psychology behind this defensiveness involves protecting her ability to maintain current benefits while avoiding commitment responsibilities. By making commitment conversations uncomfortable or contentious, she discourages you from pursuing clarity about where the relationship is heading. Female psychology research shows that women who are genuinely invested in relationships welcome discussions about commitment and future planning. They want clarity about relationship direction and are eager to discuss how to build stronger partnerships with men they genuinely love. Watch for her specific responses to commitment conversations. Does she immediately become defensive, or does she try to understand your perspective before explaining her own concerns? Someone who's genuinely invested works through commitment discussions even when they're challenging. Pay attention to how she frames commitment requests. Does she treat your desire for greater commitment as unreasonable pressure, or does she acknowledge it as a natural relationship progression that deserves honest discussion? Someone staying for convenience often portrays commitment as burdensome rather than desirable. Notice whether she offers alternative solutions or timeline discussions when she's not ready for immediate commitment steps. Someone who loves you but needs more time will suggest alternatives and provide reassurance about future intentions. Someone staying for convenience typically just wants to end the conversation. The emotional tone of her defensive responses is revealing. Does she seem genuinely concerned about rushing important decisions, or does she seem annoyed that you're bringing up topics she'd prefer to avoid? The emotional quality reveals whether she's protecting the relationship or protecting her convenience. Female psychology shows that women typically want relationship security and progression when they're emotionally invested. They don't view commitment discussions as threats or pressures, but as opportunities to build stronger partnerships with men they want to spend their lives with. The most significant indicator is whether these defensive reactions lead to any constructive planning or just end uncomfortable conversations. Someone who genuinely cares about your relationship will eventually engage in commitment planning, even if initial discussions are difficult.